At a time when very little seems possible on a day-to-day basis, with the world in the lockdown that it is because of the pandemic, it's quite something to look back on the possibility of possibility, because that is what, if it's possible at the MUAC was proposing. This requires a bit of zigzag time travel. And what better companion to have than a time-traveling rhinoceros who had kept vigil at the entrance of our show at MUAC.
The rhinoceros descended from Alberto Durero's print of a rhinoceros, which had travelled from India to Europe, was etched during another pandemic, the second wave of the Great Black Death of the 17th century. Durero himself became a wandering artist, fleeing the bubonic plague, embodying the kind of person who wore a new time in his life.
That's what we are doing today. And here in Delhi, inhabiting a time between times, a time between a cock-up and a lockdown. The clocks that had created a new feeling map of the world on the walls of MUAC can now also be read as a kind of an atlas of COVID time. They are asking for new emotions to be read in between panic and fatigue, and between fatigue and epiphany.
It's not an easy task, this navigation of the feelings of our strange, new old world. It's a little bit like walking on air or underwater. You might as well wear an antique diver's suit, your very own personal protective equipment, PPE, and go looking for a submarine horizon.
Who knows what you might come across? You might stumble into a rousing symposium, drunk on thought, a gathering that we can these days only imagine because of social distancing. The kind of symposium where we debate the decades in which nothing happened, and then the days in which too much did.
That might just leave you with answers to all the rarely asked questions in the whole world. Here are 5 answers to questions of how. Because how is a word we hear very often these days. How does this happen? How will it end? How will we get through this?
And like other rarely asked questions, Raqs replies, by salting your confidence in your intelligence with the necessary caution of being prepared for its limitations.
Well, by refusing to calculate any further.
Certainly by disguising your lofty goals in the garb of expedient means.
Well, by letting confusions abound whenever necessary.
Or by taking advantage of every possible misunderstanding.
Or by deliberately acting in contradiction to your stated interests.
Or by willingness to refuse the language of war, victory, defeat, any such logic.
Or by witnessing the passage of time without interruption and writing out the calendar for the next 5 years or the next 5 centuries by hand in an unmarked notebook.
Because as we all know, pandemic or no pandemic, things will still be done and art will still be made and people will still listen and speak and think, because if it's possible, it's possible.
Thank you and welcome to Seeing the Show.
Thank you again for having us all the way in lockdown time between Delhi, Mexico City, and the universe.